We're now joined by Neil Levesque from the New Hampshire Institute of Politics at St. Anselm College and Dr. Dante Scala from UNH. Two esteemed gentlemen in this field, know a lot about the primary. Let's just start with some first reaction thoughts here, Neil, about what has happened today.
What happened today is that the National Democratic Party chose to go to states that they can control better, and party bosses essentially want to pick candidates. Unlike New Hampshire voters, here in New Hampshire we have a state election and we pick the candidates, and so they don't want that. They want to be able to pick the candidates from Washington, D.C., and it's really not a big surprise that they did this. I think that they've been trending this way because, of course, people in power want to remain in power, and they don't want voters here in New Hampshire to choose.
And Dante, your thoughts? We were saying earlier, or you were saying earlier, probably should have seen this coming a little bit earlier.
I mean, it's been a long time coming, right? Democrats have made a point of making that early window, those first states that vote before everyone else does, more and more diverse over time. And the Democratic Party is clearly the more diverse of the two parties, right, in the United States. But question now is, what do candidates do? Because now, if you're a presidential candidate wannabe, you're thinking about strategy going down and where New Hampshire fits in. And now the Democrats are making the penalties for going to New Hampshire, with New Hampshire staying first, a lot more serious than they were 4 years ago.
Yeah, and certainly New Hampshire only a 2.7% win for Kamala Harris in 2024. This is theoretically on the table as a swing state in 2028. You can't just ignore that. But Neil, what do you think about what we heard from Donna Soucy there, a DNC committee woman, former state Senate president, clearly someone with a powerful voice among Democrats in this state? They're just not going to roll over here.
No, New Hampshire Democrats are not rolling over. They put up a good fight. They came up short, but I think that the truth is that the deck was probably already stacked against them. National Democrats in the party do not want New Hampshire voters to choose who can be the presidential candidates. And as a result, they want to grasp at that power, and we've seen them do it today. I think Dante is on to something when we talk about this sanctioning of presidential candidates. Are they going to tell presidential candidates that they can't campaign in all 50 states, including New Hampshire? Are they going to tell voters in New Hampshire that their votes don't count? That's a very critical thing right now as we go into 2026.
Yeah, and it's interesting. In the 2022 process, Dante, they called timeout. It was going to happen in July, and they had said, okay, let's wait until after the election. Now, this situation lands into the middle of a competitive U.S. Senate race here in New Hampshire. Not the biggest issue, but this is certainly not something Chris Pappas wanted to be dealing with.
It's a headache to have to deal with at this point, right? And Pappas, of course, is facing a primary of his own in several weeks. I'm not saying it's going to become a big issue there, but it's one more thing to have to worry about and one more thing for your political opponents to make hay of.
Yeah. And Neil, what do you think as we move forward here? We don't know how this primary is going to unfold. Obviously, New Hampshire will vote first. Something will happen. Who's on the ballot? We don't know. But what do you see as the direction of the primary right now, at least on the Democratic side?
I think the direction is that we're going to let voters decide who the candidates are going to be. And this is sort of exposing a lot of division within the Democratic Party right now that we're seeing across the country, where voters want to choose, and they have a lot of energy and a lot of frustration, and they feel that the National Party is not the place for them to vent that.
All right, we hit our time, but we've great stuff from you guys. Appreciate it. We'll hear from you again at 6.